Hey Rod, it's Liam here. Had a good time in the lesson yesterday, and I think you did some improving. Wanted to send this email or this video as a reminder. And remember, a lot of the stuff we did yesterday was mostly about short games. So get into that philosophy of getting the ball on the front of the green, no matter where you are. Get the ball on the front of the green, get it to roll out the proper distance from there. And we get the ball to roll out the proper distance by using different clubs, for the most part, and then in those certain situations where we have to hit the ball really high, we change up our technique and hit a little bit more of a flop shot by opening up the weight, or excuse me, widening out the stance, opening up the face of the club, and centering out our weight a little bit. But you did great on short game, and I expect you'll continue to do good. We spent a little bit of time on the golf swing, and so I wanted to review that. And I'm also going to try to send you an email of just some shots from the iPad that we had yesterday. And keep in mind that with you, I think the most important thing is that you hit more consistently down on the golf ball. When good players hit golf shots, they hit with a descending blow. That means the bottom of the arc, so imagine that your swing has an arc to it, an up and down arc to it. As the club comes down and approaches the ball, the bottom of that arc ought to be slightly after the golf ball. That way we can press the ball into the ground. If we have a type of swing where the bottom of the arc is before the golf ball in this area here, we're going to tend to hit a lot of thin shots, fat shots, because we'll get the ground before the ball. We're lifting on it. And then we'll tend to hit the ball really high as well. And that's what you complained of quite a bit. So looking at your setup here, and this is the first one you took back there, and I think this one had a angle of attack when we measured it like a 5.6 on the way up. So essentially your club is low here, where that red line is, and swinging up on it. So if you get under it, you're going to hit it really high. But again, you might hit, if that's the low point in your arc, right back here, we might hit a lot back there. And the club might be coming up so much that the bottom of the club hits the top of the ball and we end up hitting it thin. So anyway, this is your setup, and it looks like a driver setup to me, where the weight in the center of your swing is really far behind the ball. Ball position a little bit high, but really I'm looking at the sternum, the chest here, seeing you set up quite a bit behind the ball. And then when you swing back, you tend to slide a little bit more. I'll demonstrate that by putting a little bit of a line right here from on your right quadricep. So as you're moving back, you're kind of sitting into your right side a little bit. Your knee moves back, your right side moves back. Good coil, all that stuff there is good. But right now, like I told you before, you're simply too far behind the golf ball. Your nose is too far behind it. So as you uncoil here, and you tend to hang back a little bit, and you tend to lift up a little bit, but as you uncoil here, you're too far behind the golf ball. So in this position, your spine is too tilted backwards. It looks like you're trying to hit a ball over a tree. Okay, so that's going to tend to cause you to hit up on the golf ball quite a bit. So we're going to grab the last video here, and a lot of our change was just changing posture, just changing setup to more of a neutral looking stance. So I think you can see, if you look at this, that the shoulders look more neutral or level to the ground than what we saw in the setup on the last shot. The hips look more level. You could probably take your ball position looks the same, maybe slightly back. You could probably take the hands and move them a little bit more forward so the shaft has a little bit of a front to back lean on it like that. Okay, but otherwise a nice change and a nice setup change there. So, but here's the nice change here. So as you go back, I'm going to draw that line. You really use your right leg as more of a solid pivot point, so you're much more solid as you swing back. The right leg isn't moving. So now your weight stays more centered. Your nose is still behind the golf ball, but not nearly to the same extent as you saw before. I think when we looked at this one on the flight scope, and you're still leaning a little bit here, but notice this line is not nearly as much as what we saw on the last time. Okay, so you're still leaning back just a little bit, but not nearly as much as what we saw before. I think when we looked at this one, you hit down on it 1.8 degrees, so it was a negative 1.8 angle of attack. Tour players with a 5-iron, I think you're hitting a 5-iron here, are usually about 2 to 3 degrees down the golf ball, so you're a lot closer on that one. And that shot was solid. It was lower, and at least on our flight scope, it showed us that it was straight as well. So nice changes. Again, work on the short game, and I think you'll have some success. All right, Rod, thank you.